YouTube? I just wanted to make a real quick update video on my collection of top 50 players rookie cards that I'm adding to my PC, and also go into just a little bit of some thoughts that I had in my mind in general about card collecting right now. But first, real quick, I want to show off just a couple of things here that I recently got. First one, it's a good one. Oh, that's right. It's the 1961 Fleer Elgin Baylor SGC4. So, for a 4, I think this is pretty good condition. You can see, obviously, the corners are a little worn. You can see, obviously, it's a tad bit off center, but some of that is actually on the on the protector, not the card itself, obviously, or not even the slab itself, just the sleeve protector that I have over the slab. But as you can see, overall, card is in very good shape, I think, for 4. Really nice coloring still, really nice bright. Gotta love the giraffe logo that they used to have. I can't imagine why they got rid of that. I mean, that looks so awesome. Nice 1960s giraffe logo, huh? Anyways, that was a pretty big one. I'm really, really happy and excited about that one, of course. And then another one I picked up recently, not quite as big as that one, but still still definitely in my top 50. And I don't have his card yet, so went ahead and picked this up. 1971 Topps Dave Cowens, the amazing looking 70s style font and coloring. Once again, this is a SGC 6.5 for 6.5. I also thought that this was really good condition for 6.5. Well, I went ahead and got it because it really didn't cost very much money. And once again, obviously the centering is slightly off, but the coloring is amazing. I think one of the big reasons it got a 6.5, let's see, I don't know if he'll pick it up on the camera. You can see a little bit of what looks like an ink mark, a little pen mark or something that somebody put on that card on the back, probably a long time ago, whatever. It's probably the big reason why I got 6.5. Because otherwise, I think this is a pretty good, copy of this card. Which leads me to what I kind of wanted to go over a little bit as well in this video, which is, current state of the market and the current state of card collecting in general. This is card collecting as a whole. Obviously, the past few years has been pretty crazy, and prices have really skyrocketed. Even after they've come back down to earth a little bit after the big boom that happened back in like February and March of 2021, they've come back down, but they still haven't come back down to what they were pre-pandemic, and I don't think they ever will go back to pre-pandemic prices. And so, some of these cards you see in front of you, these PSAs over here that I purchased a while back before the pre-pandemic. So the cost for me for a card like this Dr. J PSA 7 was, I think around $350. Right now, cost of this card at this grade is around, I think, $1,300, $1,400. Same thing with this Moses Malone, this PSA 9. When I bought it for around $400, $425. Right now, it goes for about $1,400. Went up as much as over $2,000, I think, at one point. So did the Dr. J. In fact, I think the Dr. J PSA 7 went as high as $3,000 at one point. The Bird Magic rookie, when I got this one as a PSA 6, I think I got it for, like $250, $300. And right now, this will cost you probably around $1,200, somewhere around there. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending on when you purchase it. But I think that just kind of goes to show where prices are right now. And so obviously, like if I purchase these cards today, I probably wouldn't be able to afford them at their current market value, at their current grade. And so I think it's important, if you're getting into this hobby for the first time ever, or you're looking at cards such as these for the first time, or different types of cards that have really gone up in value quite a bit over over the past year or so, I should say. Really probably have to maybe set your sights slightly differently than what they normally would have been. I certainly was once upon a time somebody that was like, oh, I have to have my vintage cards in like a PSA 8 or 9 or higher, or SGC 8 or 9 or higher. And I certainly have had to adapt quite a bit in my thinking process, I think, over the years, just because I just I just can't do it. I have to purchase cards on a budget essentially. I have a full-time job. I can't really give up my full-time job to buy, sell, trade cards on a full-time basis like a lot of people you see on YouTube and on Instagram and these other social media outlets that have essentially become um, sports card influencers. I do think that there is such a thing now because of all the content that you can get out there on buying and selling sports cards and how people are doing it, and supposedly making a lot of money doing it, and they may in fact well be, and that is in fact how they could potentially be getting their hands on these cards that you see them buy that are going for 4 and even 5 figures now. I'm not able to do that, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people out there that are not able to do that. So I think you have to kind of adjust to what you're looking for and what you're collecting. And so getting a card like this now, a 6.5 SGC of this type of card, is kind of a good example of that, where, okay, you hear it said often, I think, on a lot of other people's channels and social media accounts in terms of, buy the card and not the grade. I think that's a phrase that I've heard uttered quite a bit by a lot of people. And, yes, and yes, I do agree with them. I don't think that they often explain it very well by exactly by what they mean when they say that. But, I mean, I think in this, of course, this isn't like an extremely expensive card compared to like Elgin Baylor. Now, if you wanted to try and find an Elgin Baylor rookie like this at like a 7, a PSA or 7, or a PSA 8, or even higher, and there are very few that are higher, of course, but let's just say a PSA 8 of this card, which is something that I would have tried to have gotten several years ago if I had the means to do so. Because several years ago, a PSA 8 of this card probably was, hovering around $1,000 to $1,500. That's not the case anymore, obviously. Now, PSA 8 of this card, I think, is going for around 5 figures. And this SGC 4 is going for around $700 or $800. So roughly what I would have spent back in the day on a 7 or an 8, but I missed the boat on that when I could have potentially have tried to have bought it back then. I didn't, and now kind of paying the price for that. But I look at this 4 once again. I see that, okay, this 4, obviously it's a 4 for a reason, but it's still in really good condition, and I think it's still really good, really great representation of this card. And since once again I'm buying on a budget and don't have, a bunch of, funding, or I guess even for some of these people like Gary Vee and other influencers, Jeff Wilson, and people of the like, who have made lots of money by doing other things and making investments in other companies, and now really showcasing their cards and stuff that they're buying in the sports card and sports memorabilia market. But I certainly don't have that kind of money. They can go out and get all the Elgin Baylor 8s they want. They can go out and get the Julius Erving 9s and 10s even, and And they can do all those things because they have the means to do so. But if you don't have the means to do so, I do think that keeping in mind just the hobby and the market for these cars are just completely different from what they were even just a little over a year ago. And I don't think they're ever going to go back. I don't think things will ever go back to pre-pandemic pricing, essentially, especially for these cars, these type of cars that you see in front of you. We're long past that, so the floor on these cars is higher, and they will never go back down. And so you got to think to yourself, okay, can I really go for a Moses Malone rookie for $1,400, or should I just maybe go for an 8 or 7 of that same card for maybe a few hundred, Because yes, I love having a PSA 9 version of that card because just because it's a great grade to have of that card, and there are very few of this card at a 9 or of course a 10. But if you can't do it, then don't. And I think you can be happy with an 8, because 8s look really nice, look almost as much as nice as a 9 in a lot of instances. They may only be off just a little bit in centering, or might have a tiny nick on the corner or on the edge that you can't even really see unless you have a magnifying glass or one of those tools that you see people have that can search for imperfections on cards under a light or something else. But I mean, if you can't even really see it unless you're looking at it through a special tool or special microscope, then I don't think it's really going to be a big deal to buy the 8 as opposed to the 9. I mean, that's my thoughts on it. So essentially, things are very different now from what they used to be, and so I think it's wise to think differently in terms of what you're purchasing nowadays. Go for a card like this if you have the means to do so, and if you don't have the means to go for this in a 9 or a 10, just don't do it. I mean, look at this. This obviously isn't a 10, but it looks almost as good as an 8 or a 9. It really does. So, just be careful. Be careful if you're getting into this for the first time, or you're really just excited about investing in sports cards and want to go out and purchase a lot of the cards that you see people on YouTube and Instagram and the like purchasing and showing off on their social media pages and whatnot. Just be smart about it. We want everyone in this that wants to get into this hobby to stay in the hobby. And the quickest way for people to get out of the hobby, and when people, of course, do that and they try and liquidate everything and sell off everything fast, and that sometimes can really dip the market on a lot of these cards. So it's not good for all parties involved, whether it's just economically or just the fact that it's great to have more and more people interested in getting into sports cards and investing in them. But at the same time, just keep in mind that things are a lot different now than they used to be. And don't go into hot water to try and get, cards that are only 8s and 9s and 10s if you don't have the means to do so. So that's really all, I guess, I wanted to talk about in this episode. So once again, really excited still to get my Elgin Baylor and to get my Dave Cowens. And I think, like I said, they're both, even at this grade, I think just great representations of these cards and look great in these SGC holders. I still love these black and white SGC holders with these vintage looking cards, especially the ones with the white borders. They just look really nice and really pop in these holders. So 6.5 or 4, doesn't matter. They look really good. So anyways, thank you so much. Please, if you have any thoughts on what I said or want to comment in general, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe, and I'll keep updating you when I can. Thank you.